Welcome back to the 2024 Olympic Games event by event preview. This is part 2, so this will be previewing days 4 through 6 of the 2024 Paris Olympics. We are going every single final, individual, and relay. I'm Coleman Hodges. I'm joined by Laura Rosado, Sophie Kaufman, and Yanyan Lee of SwimSwam, and we are talking Olympics. This episode of the SwimSwam podcast is sponsored by Commit Swimming, SwimSwam's exclusive team management software partner. Since 2015, Commit has been providing coaches with swimming's leading workout management software. And now, Commit has team management software too. Commit wants to help you make the switch from Team Unify to a simpler, more powerful solution. Their onboarding and customer service team will walk you through every step of the way. Check them out at commitswimming.com to book your demo today. That's COMMIT swimming.com. So, day 4, the first final of the night is the women's 100 back, which I think is going to be one of the best head-to-head races of these games. Sophie, get us started on this women's 100 back. Kayla McEwen or Reagan Smith is the question.
I think it's a really hard question. I will say my hot take is that I do think both are going under 57. So I kind of really don't care who wins as long as we see that happen, or at least see 150. I just really want to see a 56, and whoever can give that to me is my pick for gold. I don't have a fantasy team, so I don't really have a dog in that fight. It's really hard to say. McEwen has gotten the better of Smith multiple times on the international stage, but now that Smith has gotten the world record back, I think that she is the one who comes into the games with an edge. She's a full 0.2 faster than McKeon at this point, 57.13 to 57.33. And I think that if Reagan is going to beat Kaylee, it's going to happen here. So you know what? I'll take Reagan for gold here.
Okay, I don't mean to speculate, but I do think Reagan is a swimmer, especially internationally, that doesn't do great when she's an overwhelming favorite to win something. We've seen her falter like that in the past, and obviously she's gotten a lot mentally tougher since then, but when you combine that with Kayla McEwen's sort of I feel like Kayla McEwen's had an underdog mentality in her rise this last Olympic cycle. She's won as the underdog before, she's won as the favorite. She sort of, even when she wasn't at her best in 2022, she still managed to get a gold in the 200 back. And I think that kind of mentality will put her over the top. I do think this will be more of a race for gold than a race for time. I do think we will see a 56 sooner or later, but I think that's sort of reserved for a World Cup meet where you have clean water rather than the Olympic finals. And then for bronze, I've got Catherine Burkhoff, although Kylie Mass could make it interesting as well.
Laura, I'm going to call on you as well.
Yeah.
Because this is such a good battle. Reagan or Kaylee, who you got?
Yeah, I'm giving the edge to Reagan here. So in the one fly, I said that I'm not picking Walsh because she did her world record in semis, but Reagan did hers in finals. I think that shows some really great maturity for managing energy throughout the rounds, really great race strategy. I believe she also got faster in the one fly as well. I'm kind of not looking at her 2 back and 2 fly performances because there was an overlap. There was definitely some energy management, a different strategy going on there, knowing she's so far ahead of the American field. But I think she's got her strategy nailed down. She showed it off at trials. She flexed in the biggest way possible, and I think she gets the edge over McEwen here. what is so fascinating about this race, I think, is there's also this really, I think this is a really tight race as well for bronze between Burkhoff and Maas. And I suspect that it could look very separated between, like, maybe the cameras from us watching at home will will not show that bronze race as closely. But I think that's just as interesting to see the two more of the other 5 women who've been 57 point in this event. So just super exciting race all around.
I'm gonna take Reagan over Kaylee as well. I'm in my picks. They split the backstrokes. Kaylee's gonna get the 200. Reagan's gonna get the 100. They are the respective world record holders in those events. So I'm going with the numbers on that one. And then Burkhoff versus Maas, I think is going to be a really great race too. I don't even know who I would pick for that for third, because you've really got youth versus experience in that one. So a couple of great storylines in that women's 100 backstroke. To me, it's going to be one of the best races of the meet. Next up, speaking of good races, men's 800 free. Laura, can you start us off in this distance event that's going to feature a defending Olympic champion, not a defending world champion? That might be the biggest bummer, is that no Hafnaoui, but we're going to see a lot of worlds collide between distance specialists and mid-distance specialists in this sort of mid-distance race. Laura, who you got?
Oh, this one is going to be a great race, and I'm always glad to watch a great distance race. They better not cut the commercial, is what I'm saying.
You never know with Peacock.
Yeah, you never know, but so I have Whiffen winning here. I think this is his sweet spot, and where he is most in it for the race. But I think between him, Fink, and Short, it's going to be really close. I don't have much more insight in that. I just think it's one of those that we're going to get there and it's going to be a race. And no matter how that podium shakes out, we're going to see some fast times in this event.
Yeah, I think we can all collectively agree that the event's going to be fast. I kind of have a boring podium because, again, it's the top 3 seeds. Very chalky. I've got Short winning. I think this is his best event. And it's especially clear that this is his best event with Ahmed Hafnaoui being out. And he's almost a second faster than the whole field. I know that's not saying much in an 800, but it means a lot. And I have Bobby Fink getting second and Dan Whiffen in bronze. The same as the top 3 seeds right here.
Yeah, I have the same podium as Yanyan. This is actually the men's race that I think I'm most excited to watch, purely because of how much of a race it is going to be. It's taken some hits with Hafnaoui out of the race, and maybe, I think, is Martins out as well? Is he scratched out?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. He's not on this list, but I think he should be in it. Maybe he's just 2 and 4. Yeah. I think he's just 2 and 4.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think even without him, obviously Hafnaoui and Martins were huge parts of why this race was so exciting in 2023, and it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, and now we're kind of getting the follow-up to that. I agree with Yanyan that this is Short's best event. I think his biggest strength is his opening speed. Going out in a 3:47 is no joke for an 800 freestyle. And I think that is going to be enough to hold off Fink and his closing speed. So I think he gets it done, and I think Whiffen gets on the podium for bronze.
You're all fools. Bobby
Who's on your
Fink.
fantasy team?
Bobby, he's not on my fantasy team, but Bobby Fink is going to Fink this entire field as he did in Tokyo. This may have slipped past all of you, but my keen SwimSwam eye was open at Olympic trials when we saw Fink competing in the 400 solely to practice his opening speed for this race. He knew Sam Short was going to be out quick in Paris. It happened to him last year at Worlds where he tried to make up the distance and he couldn't. He's prepared this time. He has practiced his opening speed. He's going to stick with Short enough through the opening half of the race and then just slowly chip away and drop the Fink hammer on the last 50 as we've become accustomed to repeat gold in this men's 800 freestyle, crushing Sam Short's dreams at Olympic gold, at least in the 800. Short finishes for silver. And yeah, I think Whiffin's in there for bronze. He's had a great couple of years and he's going to be in there, but it's going to be Bobby Fink all the way.
Yeah,
for my calculations.
I think it's really interesting too to think about what Wellbrock is going to bring to this event. You know, he missed the final at Worlds last year after having such a great open water meet where he won 2 golds in that before they even got to the pool swimming. You know, now pool swimming is first, and open water, whatever form it takes, is after that. So I think it will be very interesting to see, you know, how he responds to the disappointment that was his pool swimming events last summer coming in, because you know, because now he has something to prove, you know, where he's kind of been at the top of this distance field for a long time, and all of a sudden now there's so many new guys coming in and who have beaten him.
We're not even talking about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love that as a sleeper medal, or yeah, I guess a sleeper medalist, but it's a loaded field. It's a lot of talent. Looking forward to those men's distance races. Last final of day 4, men's 4x200 free relay. Let me just get to my list here. Great Britain is, I'd say, the overwhelming favorite. United States looks really strong. China and South Korea both are seated in at 7:01s behind them. We've got Australia at 7:02, maybe even a sleeper pick of France at 7:03 with the power of Leon Marchand and a home crowd. Yanyan, start us off on this. Can anyone take down Great Britain, or can Great Britain take down the world record?
Yeah, I think Great Britain being the favorite is a fair pick. And I'm looking back to their trials. I think they've got Richards, Dean, Scott, and I think James Guy.
Yeah,
I don't remember. But
same lineup as Tokyo.
Yeah, and I think those are 4 guys that can go 144 at least off a relay split pretty easily, pretty consistently. It's kind of hard to argue with anyone beating a team like that. And last year they did it even with Duncan Scott kind of being off and Matt Richards not really going much faster than his flat start time. And I think the US will make it closer than I think they have in past last year when Great Britain beat them, and then in Tokyo, especially because last year Luke Hobson messed up on his relay leadoff, and I don't think he'll make that same mistake again this year. And I think the US has a pretty strong team, so I do think it'll be closer. I just trust Great Britain more to pull it off. And then in third, I have Australia, which is the 5th overall seed. They've got some pretty good pieces. I don't remember if it was this year or last year. They had a swimmer that made a considerable jump compared to last year. I forgot.
Giuliani.
Oh yeah, Maxime Giuliani. I think we wrote an article last fall about how his rise sort of helps the Aussies, and I think that will be a big difference maker. And they've got swimmers like Flynn Southam and Kyle Chalmers, and just guys who can be like consistent and go 44. And so I have them as third. Too bad we don't have Rena here to say that South Korea is going to get on the podium.
Any other? I'll say it. South Korea is going to get on the podium. We're looking at Great Britain, U.S., and South Korea in that order. They're going to have a great meet. Great Britain's going to break a world record. There's my takes on that. Sophie or Laura, any parting thoughts on that 800 free relay?
I agree with the Great Britain world record take. You know, they just missed it in Tokyo, and the window is still open for them. I feel like it's closing a little bit. The U.S. is definitely catching up. This is going to be a much closer race than it was in Tokyo. I still think they get it done. And, you know, Retta's not here. I'll take South Korea for bronze as well. Why not?
All right. I think that's good on the wins 4x2 and on day 4. Let's move on to day 5. First event, women's
This
100
is feeling
free.
like Olympic trials. Like I'm actually physically back in Olympic trials. Like, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense that you would notice that now because, like, day 5, I think, is like where the struggle really starts.
Yeah.
I really, because like this is getting me excited. I'm kind of loving all how swim centric this is, and hopefully our listeners are too. But Yanyan, you're a trooper. I just want to say that you're doing great. Laura, I would love for you to get us started on this women's 100 freestyle. It's going to feature the world record holder, the defending world champion, and a gaggle of other women who are hungry to get on that podium.
Great, because I actually have thoughts on this one. I'm picking Siobhan for gold here.
What?
And I know looking at the numbers, this is not very controversial because she is the top seed on the entries. But I think representing a small nation, she, like, her qualification, there's never a question about it. She had all season, nay, all quad to fine tune her race strategy. And I think and I think she's all in on this 100. I think she's, you know, you've seen the Australians in the 200. She's not, her ceiling there is bronze, barring catastrophe. She didn't have to go through a trials gauntlet, which I think in her case is working for her. And also she's the only swimmer my grandma knows, so I am picking her to win gold here. I think Molly O'Callaghan is right there for silver. And who did I pick for bronze? I was just so focused on the top. And I think Steenbergen gets in for bronze there. I'm intrigued by Sjöström's entry, but I just think she, in like a most recent interview, she's like, I didn't even realize it was like the time it worked out with the 50. I don't think she's locked in like Siobhan is. So that's my pick. I'm pulling for her. Gold for Hong Kong, so let's go.
Okay. I do want to reiterate, I think this is Molly O'Callaghan's race to lose. She's been the best in the world when it's mattered most for the last 2 years. She's also the only swimmer to go under 52.4 multiple times this year. I wrote the preview for this article. O'Callaghan, you just can't deny her consistency. So I'm going to go with her. With Howie, I think my one gripe against her is that she did go her 52.0 at the World Cup, but then she added half a second at Worlds and lost to Merit Steenbergen. I feel like when you're a favorite like that in a race, even though I've said that 24 Worlds doesn't matter as much as other World Championships meets, like I feel like that is a little like telling, and it's not a great look for her. So I'm gonna have to. I don't think she's gonna win. I actually had Sarah Sjöström in second behind O'Callaghan because what we've seen over the last year with Sarah Sjöström is that she does not swim a bad race. If she's swimming in a race, she will go all out and impress you, and that's what she did all of last year, and I think she will continue that this year. She's been great in the 100 free, and even though she may not have been focusing on it as much as her 50, I think she is a great shot at podium. And then I have Howie in third. So Howie or I'm just not.
Yeah, it's your call on that one, really. Sophie, this is such a good race and such a compelling argument. Give us your picks.
I also have Siobhan winning. I think that 52-0, I think is a lot, but it is a lot in her favor, certainly. But the real reason is that at the start of the year, we were asked to make wild predictions, and I predicted that Siobhan Hoy was going to get gold in the 100 and the 200 at the Olympics. That was certainly a wild prediction, and I think based, her ceiling is bronze in that 200 free, like Laura said, barring something absolutely catastrophic happening. But I'm going to back my December 31st self and pick her for the gold here with Molly O'Callaghan getting silver and Sarah Sjostrom getting bronze. Even though she, I think it's fair to say, has not been specifically training for this race, like, it's Sarah Sjostrom, like, she's going to get on that podium.
It's fair enough. I love all these arguments. The women's 100 free is stacked, and it's going to be such a fun race. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and I think there's a few women who have really legitimate chances at winning. You also have 5 women that are in with either best times or seed times of 52.2 or better. So there's going to be a lot of speed in that one. Moving on to men's 200 fly, where we will see the world record holder Christoph Milak in and firing. I feel like this is a hard one to predict just because we don't really know if Mr. Leon Marchand will be swimming it or not, but let's just assume
he's got to be swimming it. They literally changed the schedule for him. If he doesn't swim it, I'll be disappointed.
Let's assume that he is. Let's just work under the assumption that Leon Marchand is competing in the 200 fly and the 200 breast. Yanyan, give us what do you think?
I don't think we've seen Christoph Milak at his best this year. He went 154 at Euros, has been 153.9, and obviously we've heard a lot of stuff about him and his motivation. I don't know how much of that I'm gonna believe, but I think he doesn't have to be at his best to win. I think he can add at least like a second and a half and still come out on top. And I've been pretty high on Milak repeating in this event for a while now, so I'm gonna go with him. And then I think I have Leon Marchand for silver, and then I got Ilya Karun for bronze because I think he's kind of been right there these past few years, and last year he just missed the podium. I think this year he gets it.
All right. Laura, Sophie, any picks that differ from that?
I have Honda finding his way onto the podium, just because, and the inconsistency with which we're applying this. But he's coming off the world title in Doha. It's just momentum behind him. I think he finds his way back. But yeah, I can't disagree with Milak on top. He is, like, I'm looking at it says 150 is his personal best. That still doesn't look real. And I know the world record has been there for a while now.
Yeah, I'm saying podium as Laura. I like Milak for first because his ceiling is just so high. I think Marchand's gonna have a great meet, and he's a 23 world champion. Honda is having a great year this year, highlighted by that 2024 world title in Doha. So I'm going 1, 2, 3 in for Milak, Leon, and Honda in the greatest event ever invented. Moving on to the women's mile. Long event. Okay. Will Katie Ledecky break a world record? Sophie.
Oh boy. I do think I'll have a hot take here. I do think she's the favorite in this one. I don't have her breaking the world record here. I mean, it's an easy pick for gold, but to answer your question, no, I do not have her breaking the world record here.
Come on. Fine. Other medalists, silver, bronze?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really interesting race for those, so-called minor medals. You've got a bunch of different athletes in this field. I think, Quadrella's personal best is a 15:40, which is, 20 seconds behind Ledecky, yes, but it's also 5 seconds ahead of Li Bingji's best. And I do think that she takes the silver medal here. And then, I have Lee getting the bronze. I think this is a pretty straightforward podium. There are certainly people who are pushing. Kirpichnikova, who, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, who's now racing for France, will be in the mix. Pallister, Isabel Gosha, even Katie Grimes. It's going to be an interesting mix of swimmers in this race. But I have that fairly straightforward 3 as my podium.
Okay, I have Ledecky getting first, and I think Quadrella second. Those are pretty straightforward. But I have Kirpichnikova getting third because, again, if we want to go with the theme of the Chinese swimmers being volatile, as well as Kirpichnikova having that home Olympic advantage, and I had her as one of like the breakout swimmers of 2023 Worlds. I think she dropped 7 or 8 seconds in that race, and I think she's just going to get better, and she'll have that home full advantage. So I think I have her for bronze.
I've got the same podium as Yanyan, pretty much for the same reasons. I'm just pulling for all French swimmers, honestly, because I think it's really cool to win medals at a home Olympics.
So if I use the Coleman logic, I have Ling Bingji on my fantasy team. Really
yeah, but you didn't have her medaling, Yanyan. You can't take it back. All right, moving on to the men's 200 breasts final.
No. Are we on day 6 now?
We're still on day 5. We still got 2 more finals for day 5, but I think this is going to be a really interesting. I feel like there are a lot of arguments to be made here, and once again, we're going to assume that Leon Marchand is competing in the men's 200 breasts. Laura, who you got?
I got Chin Haiyang for gold, and I think there was a quote from him where it's just like, I just tried going out faster or something like that. There's a great quote about how he approached the 2 breast strategy. And I think he just flies out of the front and everyone's fighting to get to catch up to him. I just think his margin in the 2 breast is just, it looks a lot better to me than in the 1 breast. He's a world record holder. He's got a lot of more room to play. I do have Matt Fallon running it back though, to sneak in for silver there. I just think it'll be a great race to see someone who goes out really hard and then someone who is known for his closing speed there. Fallon had a great trials. This is his only event going into Paris, and I just think he's stoked to swim this race. And for third, do I say Marchand? I just have doubts he swims it.
We're assuming he does.
Yes.
But he is coming off the 200 fly.
I just think both
assumption
of those 200s are such leg killers, and it's going to be tough for him to find his. I think it's going to be like a kind of a pick one situation where he's going to find his way to a podium on one of them, and I think that's going to be the 2 fly. So for me, third is wide open, but on my list I have Watanabe in bronze. So don't remember why, but probably a sentimental pick, like most of the things I ever do.
Sheesh. No Zach Stubbledy Cook. That's bold.
No love for the
time zone. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Okay. I've got to be consistent with my picks. I've been sort of down on China. I'm going to go. I had Matt Fallon winning. I think he can pull it off. He really surprised me at trials. It would be fun to see him come from behind in distance wreck the field.
I agree. Great bit. You know?
And I have Zach Stubblety-Cook coming in second and Chin in bronze.
Okay.
And I think the entire field will be 206.
What I would really love to see is Matt Fallon and Zach Stubblety-Cook flanking Chin Hai-Yang.
Ooh.
Chin Hai-Yang going out really fast, and then Stubblety-Cook and Fallon both running him down, trying to out back half one another in the process. How good of a bit would that be?
One of the best.
But I'm with Laura on that one as well. In regards of that's my podium. I don't know what order, but I don't think Leon podiums in this just because he's coming off the 200 fly. His ceiling in this is fairly high, I think, but he has no international experience in it compared to 200 fly, where he's medaled at the last 2 world championships. So I think he's much more familiar with that event, especially prelim, semis, finals, and his legs, I think, are going to be a little tie come that final if he actually does both. But let's round out the night with the men's 100 freestyle. It's so good.
My God.
It's gonna be so good. We have 2 world record holders. We have an Olympic champion. We have a ton of other guys that are really fast. Sophie, I'm throwing the ball to you. Give us your podium for this men's 100 freestyle.
Well, I kind of want to take the cop-out answer because in the preview of the men's 100 freestyle, there was a commenter who shared this stat that since 2004, the winner of this event has come from lane 5, which I then wrote an article about. So I kind of just want to say whoever is going to be in lane 5, which feels like cheating. So I will not do that. Gosh, this is a really hard event to pick. I feel like I look at the start list and my brain kind of shorts out with just how incredible this field is and like has the potential to be. I really admired Laura's for Kyle Chalmers repeating gold, but I'll leave that to her to defend.
That's a really bold pick.
And I'll take oh God. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it. I'll take Pan to win. And then silver. Let me look at this list really quick. Silver, Grousset, and I think Chalmers does get bronze. You know, we're picking French medalists. I did not do that in the women's 1500, and I'll do it here. You know, Grousset has been really consistent. Podiuming in the sprint freestyles, and now he's added the 100 fly to his schedule as well. But I think he is someone who does get overlooked in this field just because of kind of the firepower that's here. So I do think that he finds his way onto the podium. I kind of can't believe I just picked Popovich to miss, but you know what? I'm now going to stick to it that I've done it. I think that if Pan is winning and Grousset is getting silver, it's going to come down to the back half between Chalmers and Popovich. And I think Popovich is just going to get lost in the wash a little bit here. And Chalmers, with his size, is going to be able to more successfully execute that back half strategy. But I do think that this is really going to come down to the semifinals. That kind of feels weird to say, and where and how the semifinals go and where they put themselves. You know, if Popovich is going to win or medal, he's going to do it if he's not sandwiched between 2 huge guys.
That's a good point. Laura, let's defend those picks.
I mean, you can read all of my reasoning for my hot takes on swimswam.com/I-did-a-reference, but I just view the 100 free. It's a race. The time does not matter in this final. I don't think we're seeing a world record in finals. We might see one in semis, depending on how that shakes out. But I think it's just going to come down to who can get their hand on the wall first, who has been there before, who knows how to get to the wall first. And I think the only man in this field who's done that is Kyle Chalmers. Like, I'll stand by this hot take. Just because I think it's like such a gold medal event in swimming. Like this, it's not the fastest, it's not the 50, but I think the 100 is just like that perfect sweet spot where it's, I don't know. Again, you can read all my hot takes more. I just think Chalmers has the experience to get through this field, and I just don't think we see a 46 in a final because it's a final. Behind him, I really like Yanyan is the one who kind of turned me towards Grousset getting on the podium here. So I think he finds his way there. I want to put him in silver, and then who did I round it out with? I'm gonna contradict. I think I'm gonna contradict my. Oh no, I did pick. I picked Popovich for third, just because again, it really just depends on lane placement, and I think that stat from that commenter was a really good one, just to show that lane placement can really matter here. If you're too close to the center of the pool, you might burn out too fast, and then you can't bring it home. It's gonna be such an exciting race, but I stand by my Chalmers pick.
All right. Yanyan, just because this is such a loaded heat.
Every year I have a hot take, like a really hot take for the big meet, and my hot take for this year, and I feel pretty strong about it, is Maxime Grousset getting gold. He has just been so consistent with getting on the podium these last few years. 47.3 is a pretty, I mean, I think he could go faster than that, but it's like a pretty winnable time with the field. And just, he doesn't have to deal with, like, stuff like being lost in other people's watch. I think he's big enough as a swimmer to get that sort of blockage. And obviously there's the hope, like, he's going to be in his home pool, but he doesn't really have the pressure of a favorite, and I think that makes for a great race coming from him. And then in second, I've got Jack Alexey. I think his swim at trial was hard to ignore, and then I've got Popovich in third.
These are all good rationales, and I'm going to go with mine and be completely different from everyone else's. I think Popovich hits the double of the 200 free and 100 free gold. I think he's been in these situations before, so he knows how to handle himself. I agree with you guys. Lane placement matters. The race matters. The time doesn't matter. But he knows how to get it done. And last year was obviously a down year for him, but his mental is so good right now. I think he's going to hold it together. I think he's going to throw down a great race in the final. Kyle Chalmers, I want him to win gold. He makes me really nervous his last few months. He switched coaches. His coach is not his coach anymore. He had to get a new coach. He had to change training locations. His trials, he had, something come up with his body where he had to get an injection, and then he made the team, but he was only 47.7. That makes me very nervous. He's getting older. History is not on his side for winning gold. So it's hard for me to pick him. I really like the Grousset medaling pick. So I'm throwing him in for silver. And then I'm going to go with Chris Giuliano for my bronze. He's had such a good trajectory. He showed out at his first international meet last year at World Champs on the relays. He has 3 individual swims now. I think with the 200 free under his belt, he's going to show out in this 100 free final and get his hand on the wall. And Kyle Chalmers misses the podium. I didn't like saying that. I didn't like saying that at all. Okay. Now we're on day 6. Which, first off, women's 200 fly, where we probably won't see a world record, much to my chagrin. But
great word.
Thank you, Laura. Just for that, I'm going to toss it to you. First of all, women's 200 fly. give me your podium. Who do you think?
What is my podium?
What we got here?
I think McIntosh, Smith,
Yeah.
John. I don't think that's controversial at all. I will say the one shakeup I see happening is we did not see Reagan Smith at full 2-fly power at U.S. trials because she was handling a double with the 2-back. And those are leg killers. Like, and she's so far ahead of the domestic field there. She didn't have to be at full power to qualify through. So with that in mind, and with her just having, I believe, the one back before this, I think she could dip back into those 203s, but just McIntosh has been much more consistent, I feel, in this event. Got it done in 2023, and just like, and it's very hard to say McIntosh does not take the win here, despite having a slower personal best than Reagan Smith. I think she gets it done. I think Smith still gets back on this podium. I think ahead of Zhang Yufei, and I guess Zhang Yufei won this in Tokyo, so pretty similar podium, just swapping out the top here.
Yeah. Sophie, any discrepancy there?
Yeah, I have Deckers, Elizabeth Deckers from Australia, getting in here for the bronze medal. I think I just really like her improvement trajectory. She reset, I think, her all-comers record with 2:05:20 back in April. And she's been moving through the ranks quite nicely when it comes to the international stage. At 2022 Worlds, she was 5th in I think like a 2:07, and then she got silver in Fukuoka. She came from 5th at the final turn. I think she was 5th at the final turn to kind of pull ahead through the field and get onto the podium. And I think that kind of closing speed is going to serve her really well in this final, and it will be something that, if Smith has a rough final 50 like we've seen her do at a couple of these international meets, in the final, Deckers could upset her. I don't think she will. I think it's McIntosh for gold and Smith for silver, but I think she gets in there for bronze.
Fair enough. I can't have Zhang Yufei missing the podium here. So I'm putting her for bronze no matter what. I don't really care who picks the other medals, or she could do better than that. But I'm going off fantasy team here. So Zhang Yufei makes the podium. Honestly, whatever else happens. Let's move on. Men's 200 backstroke. I think the most intriguing thing here for me is that Thomas Chacon is swimming it. He's thrown down a 156, and I feel like he has the definite potential to make his way onto the podium in, not an exceedingly strong men's 200 back field. But you have defending world champ Hubert Koch. You have Ryan Murphy, who has the field best time of 153.5. Yanyan, who do you see as your top 3 here in this men's 2-back?
I think I've got Hubert Koch winning as like sort of last year sort of established him as the young and rising swimmer. I think he can be the one to sort of get the world under 154 again. And as much as Ryan Murphy's been consistent over the last few years, I think his time is up to be the one doing that. And then for third, I have Ewan Tomac, although that third spot is wide open if you go to Hugo Gonzalez. I think Hugo Gonzalez might be the second seed actually. No, he's the third seed, but he's just a few tenths behind Ryan Murphy, Hugo Gonzalez, Keaton Jones, Roman Michikov. But I think Tomac, if I'm gonna keep on boosting French swimmers, it's gonna be him. He had a really good 100 back as well, and yeah.
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 Go ahead,
Yeah,
Sophie.
I have Hugo getting in there for bronze as well. He's looked really strong all year, basically. You know, he won gold in Doha and then bettered his time at the Spanish Open Championships, 154.5, which in this field, you know, makes you a really strong contender for a medal. I'm also really interested by Xu Jiayu's presence here. You know, he swam prelims in Tokyo and then he withdrew. And we haven't seen him in this race at the world championships level since 2017. So I'm really interested to see if he swims this. It's kind of him, Chekon, and then Lucas Martins as well, unless he withdrew from this as
I think he's only doing the 2 and the 4.
Okay. Well, I think Chekon and Shu are the two like intriguing presences that could really disrupt this field.
Does anyone remember if he withdrew to focus on the mixed medley? Was that a conflict? That would be my guess, but I don't actually remember if that was a conflict in that schedule or not. But it's okay. I think there's the men's 200 back. I think that's a good enough preview because at the top I think is pretty set in stone, at least on paper. Let's move on to the women's 200 breast final, where we have a defending Olympic champion, a world champion, I guess the defending world champion, and a few other women who have been sub 221. Certainly, I'm not looking at the paper right now, so I don't have my stats right in front of me. But we've got 4 women who have been 219 or better. In Kate Douglas, Tess Schouten, Tatiana Smith, or Schoenmacher, and Lily King. And I think it's going to be those 4 for 3 medal spots. Laura, let's toss the ball to you. Who do you have for your podium in this 200 breast?
I have Kate Douglas winning gold. She just looks so good in that 2 breast at U.S. trials. I believe that was prelims where it was like
she just let like a fast time out of nowhere.
Yeah, she really woke up the crowd, I'd say. And she just looks so smooth in that race, even if the time was not her American record time. Like I think it's Kate Douglas time. I think she gets under her American record. I don't think she approaches that world record, but yeah, I just based on like seeing her that swim at trials, I'm on the Douglas train now. Yeah. Behind her, I'm not as sure. Like I'm not going to reference my picks because I don't know what I was thinking, but I think Smith, Schoenmacher looks really good to get onto this podium. Tess Schouten has had a good season, I believe. Yeah, she's just coming off the world title in Doha. I think that again, just momentum behind her. Like even if it wasn't like the peak field that we've seen. But then Lily King's also been under 220, and can she pull another gutsy swim out? That's just a question that we'll have to wait for the answer for. But I think if I have to lock in picks now, I'm saying Douglas, Smith, Schoen.
Any rebuttal?
I think it's hard to argue with those picks. The only maybe possible argument is Smith over Douglas, just because Smith has been faster than Douglas has ever been and has beaten Douglas in the past. But I think you can argue for either of them.
I'm with you on there, Yanyan. I think Laura's podium would be mine as well at this point. Although obviously I want Tatiana to win for fantasy team purposes. But yeah, I think it's going to be those 3 women. They've all had great seasons. They're all looking really good. I think Lily King is going to be on the outside, but I think it's going to be those 4 women when it comes down to it. Last final of day 6 is the women's 4x200 free relay. once again, it's odd that I think the Australians are more favorited in this event than the 4x1 free. Do you agree or disagree?
I think I'm gonna have to agree.
Yep.
Sophie, who do you have coming in behind Australia, who with 2 152s just looks pretty unbeatable in this?
I do think it's the U.S. who gets silver here. Katie Ledecky being a favorite in the 4x2 100 free relay aside, I do think that the U.S. does have a solidly silver medal winning team that they've assembled here. I don't think that it stacks up to the Australians. I think they have this gold pretty much locked up. But I do think the U.S. has a solid case for second. And then I have China in third. I think this is another pretty straightforward podium. I just don't. I'm trying to think of like a hot take that I can have, but none of like looking at the entry list, like any hot take, it just is too difficult for me to back up any.
I think. Go ahead, Yanyan.
Yeah, pretty much self-explanatory. I think the Australians have a lower shot at being upset in this race than they do in the 4x100. I feel like, because I think the U.S. the weakest event for the U.S. woman by far is the 200 free. They're not gonna medal in it. Whereas I think I can see them. Actually, they won't medal in the 100 free either, but that's without Kate Douglas. But like even with their top, you get what I'm saying. But I don't. They're considerably weaker in the 200 compared to the 100. That's what I'm saying. And I think China's probably going to get bronze unless they have a catastrophic.
I mean, or unless they have the swim of their lives and get gold, like in Tokyo. Am I right? Yeah, I think on paper right now, Australia, US, China. My hot take for this race is that we're not going to see anyone go 152. And I don't think that's that hot of a take. I just think Australia can go 153s and still win by a considerable margin. And it is on day 6 of the meet. So I think, everyone's legs are going to be a little worn down by that point. But that's not even anything that interesting. But that does wrap up part 2 of our Olympic preview event by event. That is we've taken you through the first 6 days of Olympic competition. Stay tuned tomorrow for part 3, days 7 through 9. We will see you then. You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.